Mr. Ahmed, what would mean genuine concern to you?
From the military, we haven't seen genuine concern from civilian commanders of the military. We have not seen the inspirational leadership we would want to see in people who are commanding these military officers. And at the end of the day, these people are men as well. They're human beings just like we are. They need enough motivation, they need enough equipment to go out, they need enough strategy, and they need people who would do that at the helms of affairs, and those are political civilian commanders. We want to see that happen.
You know, a lot of people will say that, as you rightly pointed out, in 2010 or 2011, when the president took over, we were not at this stage, but it was a gradual thing. It has started as far back as 2009, and it, you know, gradually what we thought was just a skirmish here and there is now what we're saying is taken over the entire northeast, which also happened to have been under the governorship, as it were, political leadership of the opposition. And people are saying all of this, you know, is this not a deliberate plan to, you know, directly sabotage this particular government? There are conspiracy theories out there.
Yes.
I'm sure you're not unaware of that.
Yes, absolutely.
The question will be, what also, as your party proffered as a solution, considering that it was territory that it governed, that, you know, was directly affected by this terrorism?
Well, I don't think, first of all, let's get something very clear. Security in Nigeria under the Nigerian Constitution is not under any state governor. It's directly the responsibility of the federal government, be it police, civil defense, the military certainly. And now to add that, most of the states in the northeast that are affected by this are now under a state of emergency. So not only is the are the state governors now completely incapacitated in terms of security to do anything about it constitutionally. To make it more is that the states are under emergency rule. So there is no way you hold any state governor responsible for the security of his state. Because all the apparatus, the security apparatus that are supposed to take care of security are directly under the federal government. And now that begs the question. Why is it that these things have escalated despite the emergency rule? Now, political leadership of state governors, they can only advise. Say, okay, this is what we think should be done. And it is at the prerogative of the federal government whether to take that advice or not.
Well, that's if we're only looking at it in terms of, you know, military hardware or having security personnel on the ground, which is where, you know, you might say that we're looking at bringing in the federal government. But we're talking about social security, human security. The state governors definitely cannot fold their arms and say, well, you know, we really don't have any business. It's the federal government's business. Can we say that?
Well, in the times of war, in the time of war, how can you talk about any kind of social security in the time of war?
Considering that this, you know, was a gradual degeneration, didn't they also see it coming? And didn't they see how to be able to stem it? And because initially we're seeing that there was this fear, this unwillingness to do things. People weren't sure whether, you know, this was being directly endorsed by the political class, or, you know, it was okay that the federal government.
No, okay, no, I think we can spin this story as much as we can. But let's say these things for the facts that where they are right now. Security is under the federal government, yes? Yes. All kinds of security apparatus are under the federal government, yes? Yes. Are the states that are under ambush right now, are they under emergency rule declared by the federal government? Yes. Now, these states have political leaders. Yes, they do. But what responsibility, either constitutionally or otherwise, do these state governors have? Direct impact in terms of security.
The reason I ask those questions,
it's very little.
The reason I ask those questions is because, you know, it would seem that because right now we're in 2014, it is very convenient to put all of these blames at the foot of the federal government and say, you declared a state of emergency there. It's been over a year now. We haven't seen, you know, we haven't seen results. We know that it's been an ongoing battle. Sometimes it will seem that the military is on top of it, or other times, or many other times, it will seem that, you know, we've lost control again. That's what it looks like it sometimes. But then again, people would then say that the opposition cannot just fold its arms and say, you know, this is all the fault of the federal government. We have absolutely nothing to do with it, and we are offering a solution at this particular point in time, without exactly saying that this is what we've offered so far, and, you know, we were rejected, or our suggestions, so to speak?
No, I think,
when we take
I
it on board?
think the governor of Borno State have offered a lot of suggestions and solutions in the beginning, and he has said clearly on the news media how many suggestions he has offered and they have been rejected. But let's not even get there. I think the question is very simple. Leadership is all about taking responsibility. The buck stops at your table. You just mentioned earlier in this conversation that some successes were recorded by the military. I'm sure the federal government went to town and started crying that we have had successes, right? So if the failure comes, they'll have to take responsibility too. You can't pick and choose where to take responsibility or not. The simple thing is that the primary responsibility of a government, especially the federal government, that has the constitutional power to provide security, it has failed. Accept responsibility. It's part of leadership as well.
Do you think the efforts of the federal government are being sabotaged?
What was that?
Politically?
What was that?
Do you think the efforts of the federal government are being sabotaged? Let's look at the conspiracy
By
theories.
by federal government. If there's any sabotage, it would be by federal government.
So
Because
the federal government is
government-
sabotaging its own efforts?
I think so. If there is any sabotage, if there is any sabotage.
Heard about their efforts in procuring arms and all the issues they've been having, getting arms to equip the
But
military.
isn't it funny now that insurgents and all claims skirmish of people, a small number of people would just move in and take over local governments, local government by local government. Now, if an expert, like you said, you had a conversation with an expert who said that the ceasefire was just a way to douse the tension before they spring up again. If an expert who is a private guy, I'm sure, could foresee that, the government with all its resources should have foreseen that and knew that this was going to come to place and take appropriate measures to make sure that its stemmed is tight. So all these things are happening. Look, there is no way the government would absolve itself from responsibility. If we have successes, which we hope that we will have, the government will go to town and say it has recorded victory, and we'll all applaud it for it. But whilst there is failure and people are dying and children are being killed or kidnapped, they will have to take responsibility for that.
And the way
And I
forward-
think it's ludicrous for them to pointing fingers at any other person other than themselves.
Do you
It's
think
ludicrous.
this might will affect the 2015 elections? We have it just...
Our current conspiracy theory is that this move was a move to make sure that the 2015 election doesn't happen. Well, people don't learn from history. You can try as much as this country has an internal resilience that is beyond almost anyone. People have tried before to make sure that they have postponed elections or make sure that elections don't happen or that the election cycles don't happen. It just doesn't work. We will have elections in 2015.